Let us all stand for prayer to be led to us by Jolime C. Cabaya.
Please all rise for our prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Most gracious and heavenly Father, we thank you for another day that you have given unto us. Lord, thank you for all the blessings that you have showered upon us. Thank you for food, air, water, and everything. Lord, thank you also for the parents who are always there to support us and give us what we need. Thank you also for the teachers who are always there to teach us. Lord, as we start our debate this afternoon, guide us and protect us so that we can end our debate successfully. Lord, guide our teachers, judges, and especially our debaters. Give them strength, knowledge, and wisdom. This is all we pray in the mighty name of Jesus, our Savior and Creator. Amen.
Okay, good afternoon to everyone. Today, we're going to conduct a debate about legalizing marijuana as a medical option in the Philippines. We have here with us this afternoon our three adjudicators. First, we have Ma'am Jennifer Amwalia. Okay, next, Mr. Ronnie Tariman, Tito of Senior High School. Okay, next judge, Mrs. Richelle Sinarillos, MT2 of Senior High School. Okay, she's now outside. This afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I am now giving the table to our moderator, Ms. Saila Cantomayor.
To our respected adjudicators, to my fellow classmates, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today, we're going to conduct a class debate about marijuana should legalize as a medical use. We have assigned two groups, the affirmative side and the negative side. The affirmative side believes that marijuana should be legalized as a medical use. On the contrary, the negative side strongly believes that it should not be legalized as a medical use, the marijuana. Our motion for today's debate is so that should marijuana be legalized as a medical use? On the left, the positive side, or the preposition team, we have Mr. Jerome F. Hernal. Next, Mr. Rene P. Calibayan. And Ms. Anika N. Undoy. On the left side, the negative side, or the opposition team, we have Ms. Givini Candidier. Next, Mr. Iman Bench Tuya and Ms. Prichi Ann C. Lauro. With the researchers, Ms. Angeli Opeña. Next, Ms. Julie May Cabaya and Ms. Noki Sabas. For the preposition team, with the researchers, Mr. Maglitz Caballero, Ms. Larry May Kagapi, and Ms. Jazel Amor Kayang. Our maximum time is 3 minutes. Each speaker and our timekeepers will notify you when time is up. At this point, I will give the floor to the first speaker of the preposition team, Mr. Jerome Ferinal.
Good afternoon to everyone. To our dear adjudicators, students, co-debaters, spectators, ladies and gentlemen. This House strongly believes that marijuana should be legalized in the Philippines. Marijuana may ease a patient's and consequently a family's suffering and enhance palliative care for end-stage illnesses. Medical marijuana shows considerable promise in reducing chronic pain from widespread number of causes, including cancer, spinal cord injury, and disease, severe spasms, post-traumatic stress disorders, nausea, glaucoma, Parkinson's, and other debilitating ailments. The drug could prove useful in other applications if patients are allowed to use it. Physicians, nurses, and caregivers have been pushing marijuana or cannabis as a medical recourse to mitigate pain in many patients afflicted with grave illnesses and medical conditions. According to the Isabel Representative Rodolfo Albana III, the bill proposes that the state legalize and regulate the medical use of cannabis, which has been confirmed to have beneficial and therapeutic uses to treat a chronic and debilitating disease or medical condition that produces one or more of the following: cachexia or wasting syndrome, severe and chronic pain, severe and persistent muscle spasm, severe nausea, seizures, including but not limited to those characteristics of epilepsy. According to President Duterte himself, medicinal marijuana, yes, because it is really an ingredient of modern medicine. There are medicines being developed or are now in the market that contain marijuana for medical purposes. The president was quoted as saying in 2016, another high-profile supporter is former Health Secretary Jaime Galveston, who told Congress that using cannabis is a safer and cheaper way to treat patients suffering from epilepsy and other neurological disorders. House Bill number 4477, or the Compassionate Use of Medical Cannabis Act, seeks to decriminalize the use of plant for patients with debilitating medical conditions such as cancer, glaucoma, epilepsy, HIV, multiple sclerosis, and lupus, among others. The proposal is clear-cut and guards against the abuse of the plant. To regulate the use of cannabis, proponent says that the Medical Cannabis Authority should be established and led by Director General, to be appointed by the President of the Philippines from a list of physicians recommended by the Secretary of the Health. The Philippines will also ensure the research of cannabis as a treatment, joining the countries in the global revolutionary attempt to fight a cure in incurable diseases. That's all. Thank you.
The first speaker of opposition team, we have Givini Candidier. A gratifying afternoon to each of us. I supremely disagree in the legalization of the medicinal marijuana here in the Philippines. These are my reasons why I dissent. Even for small part, if you don't give them space for public discussion, for people to be enlightened about it, we will forever be ignorant. Many believe marijuana is the most effective drug in combating their medical ailments. I would caution against this assumption due to the lack of consistent, repeatable scientific data available to prove marijuana's medical benefits. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, or NIDA, marijuana smoke, like tobacco smoke, is an irritant to the throat and lungs and can cause a heavy cough during use. It also contains toxic gases and particles that can damage the lungs. Smoking marijuana may reduce the respiratory system's immune response, increasing the likelihood of the user acquiring respiratory infections, including pneumonia. It was found that frequent marijuana smokers used more sick than those who have respiratory illnesses. Long-term marijuana use can lead to addiction. Indeed, approximately 9% of those who experiment with marijuana will become addicted. That's according to the criteria for dependence in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 4th edition. People who are addicted to marijuana are three types, more likely to be addicted to heroin. There is no scientific proof that the effect of marijuana in diminishing pain is related to any specifically identified analgesic effect. Additional information: there is no scientific evidence that long-term use of medicinal marijuana is either effective or safe for the treatment of chronic pain. Marijuana alters brain development with detrimental effects on brain structure and functions in ways that are incompletely understood. Furthermore, marijuana smoke contains tar and other harmful chemicals, so it cannot be recommended by physicians. There is currently sound evidence that smoked marijuana is harmful. A past evaluation by several Department of Health and Human Services, or HHS, agencies concluded that no sound scientific studies supported the safety or efficacy of marijuana for general medical use. The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, or PDEA, on the other hand, has continued to oppose the legalization of marijuana. Director General Arturo Capdac, the PDEA chief, said that there is a need to first resolve the issue of how the government would be able to regulate marijuana plantations to ensure that it would not be abused. The legalization of marijuana increases availability to drug and acceptability use. This is bad for public health and safety because marijuana use increases the risk of heroin use. So, I raise my case.
The first speaker of preposition team, or the positive side, consumed 2 minutes and 58 seconds. And for the opposition team, she consumed 2 minutes and 51 seconds. The second speaker of positive side, we have Mr. Rene P. Calibayan Jr.
Once again, a pleasant afternoon to each and everyone, especially to our Board of Judges. Marijuana is less harmful than any other drug. I am Rene G.R.B. Calibayan, strongly and bravely agree that marijuana should be legalized in our country. Why? Drinking is worse than any. Cigarettes, it messes your lungs, but people still drink and still smoke, not knowing it does harm. Marijuana cures and prevents Alzheimer's disease and glaucoma, helps relieve stress, anxiety, depression, slows down tumor growth, helps relieve pain for chemotherapy and radiation. If legalized, marijuana can be taxed, which would produce $1 billion annually to profit, which in turn would help our nation to get out of our debts. Not only that, this drug helps us in our eyesight. And take note, cannabis or marijuana has been used for over 10,000 years, and not one single death has been ever recorded. I quote at Dr. Els Borst, the Dutch Minister of Health, says, cannabis does not have any serious health risk. People have died from tobacco, alcohol, from heroin, from cocaine, but never from cannabis. Legalize marijuana for medical purposes. Medical marijuana shows considerable promise in reducing chronic pains. A widespread and number of causes including cancer, spinal cord injury, disease, and severe spasm, post-traumatic stress and disorder, nausea, glaucoma, and other debilitating ailments. I also quote from Herald Editorial Board, January 24, 2017. It said, it is nonsensical to oppose the use of medical marijuana in the midst of what amounts to a nationwide epidemic of opioids. Addition, why not provide with a safer option? This article says that marijuana should be legalized and should be a safer option rather than more dangerous drugs. And why do they prefer to prescribe much powerful, addictive opiates but deny them to the authority to legally prescribe medical marijuana? Next, I quote Sanjay Gupta, MD Chief, which released an article says, Medical marijuana, why I changed my mind on weed. It was released on August 8, 2013, and it says, weed doesn't have high potential for abuse, and they are very legit, meaning marijuana is very original and they don't possess high potential for abuse. And I also quote at Jocelyn Elders, MD, former U.S. Surgeon General, and with an article entitled Myths About Medical Marijuana, released at March 26, 2004. Nausea, vomiting, and symptoms of multiple sclerosis, cancer, and AIDS can be cured by the help of marijuana. So once again, I raise my case. I strongly and bravely suggest that marijuana should be legalized in our country. That's all.
The second speaker of negative side, we have Mr. Iman Bench Tulia.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I highly disagree that marijuana should be legalized as a medical option because marijuana does not need to be legalized, in my opinion. However, there are beneficial aspects of this that helps my serious sicknesses. There is really no such things that marijuana is a medical. The dangers and risks of marijuana are well known by the scientific community. The dangers and risks may harm to other people. For nearly all conditions for which marijuana has purported benefits, we already have existing medications, safe medications, demonstrated to have value. There is currently some evidence that smoke marijuana is harmful. A past evaluation by the several Department of Health and Human Services or HHS agencies, including the Food and Drug Administration or FDA, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration or SMHSA, and National Institute of Drug Abuse or NEDA, conclude that no sound scientific studies. According to FDA, as the federal agency charged with enforcing the CSA, National Drug Control Policy, as the federal coordinator of drug policy, do not support the use of smoke for medical purposes. It also contains toxic gases and particles that can damage our lungs. Marijuana smoking is associated with large airway, increased airway resistance, and lung hyperinflation, and regular marijuana smokers reports more symptoms of chronic bronchitis than non-smokers. Lastly, I believe that marijuana is a dangerous drug, and there are less dangerous medicines offering the same relief from pain and more medical symptoms. So, I raise my case.
The second speaker of affirmative side consumed 3 minutes and 35 seconds, while the second speaker of the negative side consumed 2 minutes and 21 seconds. Now, the third speaker of affirmative side, we have Miss Anika Enandoy.
I, Anika Navarro Ondoy, is in favor to legalize marijuana, especially for medical purposes. Let me start with this PDEA's oppose. The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, or PDEA, has continued to oppose the legalization of marijuana. Director General Arturo Capda, PDEA chief, said that there is a need first to resolve the issue of how the government would be able to regulate marijuana plantations to ensure that there would be no abuse. House Bill 180 explains who and how medical marijuana should be used. It details who will be approved to prescribe it. Qualified medical cannabis physicians will be allowed to receive it. Cannabis patients with an ID card and who can assist in its distribution. Qualified medical cannabis caregivers, and qualified cannabis compassionate centers, according to the Asian correspondent. Representative Seth Jalos Jos proposed the bill and said that legalizing marijuana for medical use will benefit thousands of patients suffering from serious and debilitating diseases. Studies have shown that in American states where medical marijuana is permitted, deaths by painkiller overdose have dropped by 25%. Take note, it is dropped by 25%. Research by the National Institute of Drug Abuse in the US has found that cannabis is not a gateway drug. Jalos Jos urged Filipinos to open their minds and to shed their fear to the unknown regarding medical marijuana. Our country, which is the Philippines, has voted to introduce the free and lawful use of medical marijuana. Just one day after it, voted reinstate the death penalty for certain drug offenses. So, as I can see, marijuana is a really helpful medicine for almost all kinds of diseases. So there is no reason why it is not legalized in our country, which is the Philippines. I have highly hoped under the Duterte administration that this measure would be enacted into law. At this moment, I raise my case.
The third speaker of opposition, or the negative side, we have Ms. Pritchie Ann C. Laulo.
Once again, good afternoon to each and every one of us. With this motion, should marijuana be a medical option? For us, no, of course not. These are the reasons why marijuana should not be legalized as a medical option. First, physician perspectives. Marijuana's dangers and risks are well known by the scientific community. Apathy, lost productivity, addictive disease, deterioration in intellectual function, motor vehicle accidents, and psychosis are all among the negative outcomes. We know that we already have existing medications, which are safe medications demonstrated to have value. Second one is the medical organization's opinions. The American Academy of Ophthalmology, the world's largest association of eye physicians and surgeons, is reminding the public that it does not recommend marijuana or other cannabis products for the treatment of glaucoma. The Academy finds no scientific evidence that marijuana is an effective long-term treatment for this kind of disease. Ophthalmologists also caution that marijuana has side effects which could further endanger the user's eye health. Third one is marijuana and pain. There is no scientific evidence but marijuana is unequivocally thus produce short-term CNS or central nervous system euphoria, which alleviates something sensory. Best explains its mechanism for both reducing pain short-term during the period of influence, as well as causing euphoria associated with addictive drugs of abuse. There are many analgesic medications available to patients and physicians that have been proven and established in the practice of medicine through sound scientific clinical research to be more effective and safer for the treatment of chronic pain than medical marijuana. Fourth and the last one is the addictiveness of marijuana. The evidence clearly indicates that long-term marijuana use can lead to addiction. Indeed, approximately 9% of those who experiment with marijuana will become addicted, according to the criteria for dependence in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual and Mental Disorders 4th edition, or DSM-4. The number goes up to about 1 in 6 among those who smoke marijuana daily. According to the 2012 National Survey on Drug Use and Health, an estimated 2.7 million people 12 years of age and older met the DSM-4 criteria for dependence on marijuana. As compared with persons who begin to use marijuana in adulthood, those who begin in adolescence are approximately 2 to 4 times as likely to have symptoms of cannabis dependence within the 2 years after first use.
Although I understand many believe marijuana is the most effective drug in combating the medical ailments, I would caution against this assumption. Due to the lack of consistent, repeatable scientific data available to prove marijuana's medical benefits. Based on the current evidence, I believe that marijuana is a dangerous drug and that there are less dangerous medicines offering the same relief from pain and other medical symptoms. So I raise my case and strongly believe that marijuana should not be legalized as a medical option. Thank you.
The third speaker of affirmative side consumed 2 minutes and 22 seconds. And for the third speaker of opposition team, she consumed 2 minutes and 59 seconds. Thank you for the well-presented ideas. For now, I would like to call on our advisor, Mrs. Rhoda May C. Valenzuela, to own the stage now. A round of applause, please.
Thank you very much for the very well presented idea. Okay, for our speakers, thank you very much. So this time, I will call some students to give their insights. Okay, first one to give their insight, Miss Jacel Kayang.
So, legalizing marijuana here in Philippines is good to sustain the medication of many Filipinos who are sick, just like cancer, migraines, and Alzheimer's disease. It may be helpful because it can cure lots of diseases. We should support it because US already did it for the better lives of Filipinos. Welcoming this is a big help to our society. So, I agree with legalizing marijuana here in Philippines.
Thank you, Jacel. And next,
As medical use. Because, according to House Bill 180 proposed the Philippine Compassionate Medical Cannabis Act, marijuana describes is for compassionate use. It just never be used by just anyone. Marijuana is more harmful in our body. It is an addicting substance that damages our health. No one is capable of making good judgments. No matter what people say, the government can legalize marijuana. Thank you.
okay, wow, very good idea. Okay, next, Jolene C. Cabaya.
Again, good afternoon to all of us. Legalizing marijuana here in the Philippines is not good. Although marijuana is used as medicine in other countries, but here in the Philippines it must not use because it's harmful in our health and can cause different respiratory illnesses. Using it is not good and safety because what the affirmative side say a while ago, we concluded that there is no sound scientific studies supported the safety and efficacy of marijuana for general medical use. Long-term using it can cause addiction and also death. So I'm not agreeing legalizing marijuana as medical use in the Philippines.
Thank you, Jolene May. Okay, next, to give his insights, Mr. Maclich Caballero.
So, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak up. If I were the one who asked if I am in favor of using marijuana or not, for me, yes, I'm in favor of it. But only just, if we will use it, just only use it in the right way and purpose to avoid problems in our society. That's all.
Okay, wow, very brief description. Okay, next. Okay, the last one. Kay Miss Angeli Opena.
Marijuana is less harmful than any other drug, like cigarettes. It messes with your lungs. I mean, marijuana would do a little damage, but not that much. We as humans should have the option to put whatever we want in our bodies. This is not to say that children should have that right. They are young and we need to protect our youngs. But as for adults, we should never be refused this right. If you can demand for us to fight in battle and die for you, then we should be able to choose what we put in our bodies. and what people put into their own bodies is their own business. So I am agree that marijuana should be legalized.
Okay, thank you, Anjali. Okay, next. The last one. Miss Snoky Sabas.
So, good afternoon to each and everyone. After hearing most of the debaters' opinion, I have a review. Thus, the assumption that reflexes are slowed isn't true at all. It's a fun fact. Marijuana is known for opening our eyes to many of the corrupt ways of the economy. I don't think that it should be legalized because it kills many people every day. Killing marijuana for killing innocent people. So I disagree that marijuana should be legalized as a medical use in the Philippines. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much for the very good insight, students. So for your requirement, all of you will give your insights and kindly pass that one by tomorrow. Okay, so I will give the floor again to our moderator for some announcement.
I guess it's not an announcement, but I would like to request the two groups to stand up and shake your hands for a job well done and for a good presentation. May I request the two groups to please stand. Okay. This will show us a sportsmanship. Okay. No hard feelings? Okay, thank you. And for that, and I would like to call on our chairman of the adjudicators to speak and to take the floor now, Mr. Ronnie Tariman. A round of applause, please.
Okay, good afternoon for the job well done. Okay, so based on my observation during the presentation, majority or most of you have this good communication skills. So you are now on the process of improving. Okay, so for the topic alone, marijuana should be legalized as medical use. Until this time, I think there's no such bill or acceptance when it comes to for giving the, shall we say, the chance ang marijuana because of this psychosocial effect to the user. So based on the presentation, the speakers of the negative side have this consistent on supporting the premise that marijuana cannot be legalized in the Philippines because there's no such scientific and medical supports in order to shall we say to give a chance for exploring another medicine for specific diseases. So, consistent sila doon na wala talaga. No? So, while on the positive side, we have the facts presented, but very insufficient. Your facts or your, shall we say, evidences to convince the negative sides cannot be justified, just to convince your propositions. So in my case, the